Monday Just Baseball show. Apologies for the delay. Peter had to go get not married, engaged. That's the word for it. It's Monday
Yes.
morning. Peter had to go get engaged, nerd. I was flying back from the West Coast, and Aram had nobody to do it with, so he was just sitting on his hands on Sunday night. But a little Monday morning, Monday late morning, Just Baseball show. As always, it is presented by the fine folks at BetMGM. We get to talk about Tarik Skubal. I mean, very few times do we actually get to talk about the Sunday night baseball performance, and we also check in on the trending teams in a positive and negative direction. But you just bought a car this weekend. Congrats on the car buying experience.
Yeah, way bigger news. Way bigger news right now is me picking up a car.
Congrats to Peter, I guess. How's the car?
It was a big commitment. You know, I was deliberating, trying to figure out the right time. Really glad I got it. Heard great things about Hyundais. They're really safe.
Really?
So yeah, I went with the Hyundai.
Fuel efficiency, good for you.
Oh no, it's electric. I went electric Hyundai. I'm living life, man.
Arm laden EV guy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I could never go to a gas station again. Be thrilled.
Never in a million years would I peg you to be an EV guy. Literally never.
You just go home, you plug it in, and you're good, and you never have to go to a gas station. I'm late everywhere I go, so if you throw in the oh shit I need gas, there's some times where I'm really late. So
my car got totaled like 2 years too early. I think if it got totaled right now, I would make the move to the EV and I wouldn't think twice. But because I got totaled at the end of the 2022 season, I was like, oh, I'm just going to run back the VW Jetta. And I feel good about my Jetta. I do.
You never got footage of that, did you? Of you getting T-boned?
No, I never got footage.
I would have loved to have that.
You want that?
Now that I know you were 100% unscathed, I just wanted to see you get out of the car. Just like, what the hell just happened? It would be interesting to see.
So she was so clearly under the influence of something heavier than alcohol. So that would be a good video to have, and I probably could have gotten a decent payout, but all I got was just reimbursement for the car. I mean,
nice.
It was nice. Yeah. I made a couple grand on resale value because car prices were sky high, and I got killed on the used car market. But you know what? It's okay.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Also, Peter, pretty decent stuff over there for him. So yeah, excited for Pete, I guess.
Yeah, it's stupid. I didn't in December.
One thing I do want to say, besides being extremely happy for Peter and Amaris, especially after your situation, the outpouring on social media was just so amazing. How many people were just so excited and happy for him, and I don't know, it just made me so happy. I was at dinner that night, I kept pulling out my phone. I felt bad. I was at dinner with friends, but I just kept pulling out my phone and just seeing like all the outpouring for Pete. I could like feel it. Thousands of miles away by myself, not even with them. I wish I could have been there, but it was just so cool to see everybody, listeners of the show, whatever, just being so excited for Pete because I was as giddy as I've seen Peter too as well. So it was really cool. It's really special.
100%. Huge congratulations to Peter, and good for him for sticking to the script. I tried to ad-lib a little bit, and I got killed for my engagement. So
that's why I said, I was like, do you have any good caption ideas for him?
Yeah, no, I appreciated that reply. I appreciated the tag, but you know what? Peter kept it simple, and the KISS method works. Keep it simple, stupid. Sometimes when you get engaged, just say lifetime contract, and that works. So that's what we got. All right, let's jump in here. We got weekend headlines that we're going to fly through, and let's start with Tarik Skubal. This guy put on just another insane performance on Sunday Night Baseball. Tigers got to win 3-0, and Skubal was an absolute dog. 7 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, K'd 13. And again, he does it by being insanely efficient. 93 pitches in 7 innings with 13 punch-outs. This guy had a Maddox with 13 Ks. I mean, what he is doing is he's pushing the bar, and he's elevating the standard to a point that we haven't seen it in a very, very long time. When was the last time you held a guy on a start-by-start basis to this high of a standard?
I was thinking about that because there's the specific aspect of Tarik Skubal to me that puts him in this separate area right now. And I think when Paul Skeens is really going, there's pitchers who like have stretches or flashes of this area, but right now it just seems like Skubal's been pretty settled in this area, which is I can throw any fucking pitch I want in any count, and I can't imagine how miserable that is for a hitter because you you already are miserable facing a pitcher of a Skubal caliber or there's 10 other guys, like I mentioned, that are miserable to have to face in that
Yeah.
spot. But you have the scouting report, you have a plan. It's like, okay, well, we got to 2-0 here, or we got to 2-1. This might be one spot where I can let it rip on a fastball or let it rip on a specific pitch that I know he's more likely to throw here. I might have one decent shot. Now, with Skubal, you don't have that at all. And even just looking at when batters are ahead, he goes sinker 34% of the time, changeup 30% of the time, four-seamer 26% of the time, and the slider 10% of the time. It's pretty much the exact breakdown of all counts. Actually, it's a little bit more changeup. So that pitch is elite. You could argue it's one of the best changeups in Major League Baseball.
I think it is the best.
I do think it's the best based on usage and consistent effectiveness and command. You still have to be wary of his best pitch, which is not a fastball, in these advantage counts. Forget advantage count then. It's just more balls than strikes. That's all it is with him. It's not an advantage count.
Yeah, dude. I'm looking at just the pitch mix right now and how everything is performing. Fastball, I mean, it's funny to see like 233 is kind of the run to the litter in terms of batting average against. Guys are slugging 340 against his fastball, and it's one of like the damage pitches that he throws. Opponents are hitting 186 against his slider right now. And oh, by the way, he has this knuckle curve that he deploys occasionally to right-handed hitters, and it's nasty. Nobody has done anything with it. So this guy's figuring out how to spin a breaking ball. The changeup, I stand by being, I think, probably the best pitch in baseball at this point because he throws it, 35% of the time, 31% of the time, and the whiff rate's at 48%. Like, this guy has an elite swing and miss pitch that he throws 30% of the time. It's his go-to offering, and he gets a swing and miss half the time. That's how you do this, by pounding the strike zone, by starting it at the knees and dropping it low, and then working 100 off of that.
It's. I didn't even answer your question. What is the answer to that question in your mind?
Last guy that we held to this high of a standard on a start-by-start basis, probably DeGrom when he won his Cy Young.
Yeah, I think that's 100% the answer.
Yeah, I think DeGrom is the last guy that I turned on the TV and just expected something new.
And it wasn't just that you expected dominance or like a ton of swing and miss. You also expected the zone to be filled up. And I think that's a little different than some of what we see from the top pitchers. And that's not to knock some of the top pitchers that, we'll see that walk rate just come up a little bit, because generally when you throw 100 and you have a banger breaking ball and a nasty changeup, you're going to walk some guys. It's going to happen. And guys aren't naturally not going to swing as much. Yeah. But even just looking at that start on Sunday night, when batters were ahead, he threw 9 changeups. 8 of them were strikes. Mm-hmm. 8. And what's amazing is they're not just strikes like in the zone. Only 3, maybe 4 were in the zone, but the other 4 started in the zone. Right? So and just fades just out. He has perfected that. I forget what the exact word was when Dallas Keuchel came back and was actually getting outs. It was almost like was it like a mustache, or what was it, where it was like he was working like the bottom edges of the zone, and just like it would start right on the edge and then just go just off of it. And we're like, that's how he was able to get outs at like 87 towards the end there, where he was still having some decent outings. Like it seems like with Skubal, he has perfected I'm going to start it right on the edge. I know you're in swing mode, and it's going to dip just out, or it's going to stay right on the edge, and there's not much you can do with it.
I don't remember the term with Keuchel, but I will say...
You know what I'm talking about? I didn't pull that out of my ass, did I?
No, you didn't. I know exactly what you're talking about, where like he would just pull the string on people.
But they came up with a very specific description of how he what part of the zones he liked to work.
Yeah, I forget what it was. I don't remember the terminology there, but I will say the lasting thing that I'm going to take from Skubal on Sunday Night Baseball was first pitch of the ball game. I think I saw this note. 119 straight starts for Tarik Skubal throwing a four-seam fastball to open the game, and he gives Byron Buxton a changeup at the first pitch of the game. Like, that's when you knew this guy was just going to deviate from the norm, and man, he deviated from the norm on Sunday night. he's a freight train towards another American League Cy Young award, and it's crazy because we're watching guys dominate. Hunter Brown has been amazing in Houston. Garrett Crochet is Crochet, but in terms of run value, his changeup is the best pitch in baseball. And this guy, I think, each time he comes out, reminds everyone that he should be undisputed the best pitcher in baseball. We sit here and we have Skeens conversations, we have Crochet conversations, we have Wheeler conversations, and then Skubal pitches again, and we're like, oh yeah, shit. In case we forgot.
Yeah. Oh, here's the I think the craziest part about that changeup is, of course, how nasty it is in the usage, but 72% strike rate on a pitch that moves the way that does, and a 60% swing rate. To me, that says hitters have no idea that ain't the heater until it's too late. So the fact that he's able to mask that, and I think that's where the deception builds into. You have like a funky lefty. Basically, Tarik Skubal has gotten himself to, and he used to have command challenges at points, which is crazy. It was coming off of injuries and stuff like that out of Seattle. But Tarik Skubal's turned himself into a funky pitchability lefty that has elite stuff now. So it's like that's the part that's crazy to me. Is like he fills up the zone, he throws off your timing with some of the funk, which is usually what you see of those like back end of the rotation lefties, and then you've got 100 with two different fastballs, the breaking balls, and maybe the best changeup in Major League Baseball. So that's how you get a 48% chase rate on a changeup. It's special stuff, and I think a big part of the reason why the Tigers need to go all in on this season, because I don't like to put it all on one player, but when we're talking about trying to win a World Series here, I know he gave up that one grand slam, but he was dominant throughout the postseason as well. That's a guy that you hand the ball to game one, you have the advantage, I think, every single time, maybe except for facing Zach Wheeler in the perceived World Series. But even then, I like your chances. Having that confidence and then seeing the way the lineup's playing, I'm thinking, who can I put next to Tarik Skubal to give us a similar advantage in game two? And maybe you won't get that same edge, but if you can match game two, you got to feel really good. So Skubal is just another reason why, if I'm Scott Harris, I'm looking at this year. You don't know how Skubal is going to throw next year. You know it's going to be really good, but it may not be this freaking good. You don't know about health. You know, there's so many things. You haven't extended them yet. I really hope the Tigers go all in this year.
Yeah, and it seems like the answer to, who's going to be Skubal's Robin in the postseason, if Skubal is Batman, may be external, but they're one of 3 50-win teams in Major League Baseball as it stands right now. You got the LA Dodgers, the Houston Astros, and the Detroit Tigers. And I would love to sit here and say one of these things is not like the other, but what this season has proven is that the Tigers are in that conversation. Frankly, I think you can make the argument that the Astros is the team that is not like the other, but the Astros are as hot as anyone not named the Miami Marlins in Major League Baseball right now. So,
and as you alluded to, they've got their ace too. So it's
these
are some good teams, man.
I thought Houston was going to restructure, and they may be sending Framber Valdez elsewhere. They may be sending Brian Abreu elsewhere, maybe even Hader elsewhere, and that's not the case. They could very well go all in this year. And it seems like the restructure has worked out perfectly for them. I understand trading Tucker because you got so much more flexibility on this front. And it is a joy to watch Houston play baseball right now. Obviously, the Dodgers are the Dodgers. In terms of excitement value and intrigue that you have, can you rank those 3 50-win teams for me, 1 through 3?
Well, I mean, the Dodgers have to be number one.
I'm talking intrigue and excitement. You still find yourself gravitating towards Dodger baseball whenever you have the opportunity. I get the Ohtani effect, but for me, I find myself checking in on Houston way more than the Dodgers at this point.
We're LeBron affecting the Dodgers a little
bit
too now.
For sure. But I'm asking.
I will say Houston, I do enjoy the Tigers, but I think they're best enjoyed over like a series where like Sunday night baseball situation. I have been really fascinated by the Astros because I like watching Altuve chase, these milestones, and I've put out some stats of like things that he could potentially do over the next couple of years that he may be the only player to ever do. And then you have the youth aspect of things as well. Cam Smith obviously being one of my favorite prospects for a long time. Paredes is a really fun player to watch when he's got a short porch and left. And then I think the Jeremy Pena wrinkle is really fun too, because this is a guy that's now taking this leap to potential stardom, which I think just adds a layer to this ball club that is really, really fun. I like them because you have a lot of intrigue, I think, from top to bottom of that lineup, and then the bullpen. I mean, you're going to get a disgusting arm in the back end there. So I would probably, even though I love the Tigers, and I probably am rooting for them harder than any of the three teams in terms of like roster and how much I enjoy watching it, I'd probably go, in the intrigue there too. I'd still go with the Dodgers and the Astros and then the Tigers. But again, the Tigers are enjoyed over a series when you just watch them do all the little things well.
Yeah.
And keep squeaking out wins.
I didn't get to talk to you about this. What'd you make of Jeremy Pena switching his representation to Boris?
He did that? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he's a Boris guy now.
Just recently?
Yeah, like last week. I think everybody said, he's as good as gone.
I'll be honest, I absolutely hate that.
Yeah.
Not because of Boris, but like this wasn't a top 5 pick. This wasn't a guy that was getting a shit ton of love out of college. And I get it. You got to make the best decision for yourself. And maybe
he went to Maine.
It's just, I feel bad for the agents, and maybe there's more that I don't know there, but the agents that identified you out of Maine, that maybe have been working with you through these years, supported you through all these steps, and then the second you make that leap to, oh shit, I can start making maybe 9 figures now. Let me go jump and get somebody else to negotiate this contract. Like, I that part to me is, I don't love that, and I get it's just the nature of the beast, but man, it sucks to be an agent that's not one of the big dogs, unfortunately.
For sure. I will say for Jeremy Pena, the name that I immediately saw circulate was Dansby Swanson. It's like, oh, if Swanson got paid, why can't Pena get paid? Dansby had close to a 25-30 homer season, and I understand that Pena is having the best offensive season of his career, but who's to say that's sustainable? You still have a couple years before you hit the open market. I'd be curious to see how this guy trends over the course of the next few years, because he has some work he's got to do for him to get paid like Dansby Swanson.
Well, and here's the other fascinating thing. So I guess by making that move, is he basically saying that, hey, these extension conversations that we were having are gone?
That's what that signals to me.
Yeah, I mean,
he doesn't do it.
He said, I want to go be a free agent. I mean, he has the right to do that. But again, like the switching of agents, unless there's something specific, upsetting or disappointing that happened, which I'd be surprised that would be the case at this point. Maybe you didn't love how the pre-arb extension or the arbitration extension was going, but yeah, I think that happens a little bit too much, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, one more individual thing before we go through the trending teams, positive and negative. James Wood on Sunday against the LA Angels was intentionally walked 4 times. This note from the Washington Nationals: players intentionally walked 4 times in a single game. Andre Dawson, Barry Bonds, who was the last one to do it in September of 2004, Roger Maris, Manny Ramirez, Gary Templeton, and now James Wood. 4 intentional walks in a single game. And I would love to sit here and say, oh, this is a testament to the excellence of a young James Wood. I really think that this is an indictment on the rest of the Nationals lineup. I am not letting that guy beat me. If I'm putting together a scouting report to play the Washington Nationals, I'm not pitching to James Wood. I'm letting literally anybody else try and beat me. This, I think, may be the worst lineup in baseball if you take Wood out of it. Abrams obviously will level up the product a bit, but there have been some miserable performances in that Nationals lineup this year, and I understand why the Angels would not touch James Wood with a 10-foot pole on Sunday.
I still, and I love James Wood, obviously. I was kind of shocked to see that guy, even with the rest of the lineup. But I also think it probably says something about the lineup construction in itself as well.
Correct.
Why is Luis Garcia hitting behind James Wood? I think that might be the Angels saying thank you. Like, put Luis Garcia behind James Wood. That works for us. The counter argument would probably be, well, who do you put behind James Wood? And I don't really know. So I'm kind of complaining without a solution here, and I think it just highlights your point here, right? Is like Nathaniel Lowe should be that protection for James Wood, and it's ridiculous, unfortunately, that he hasn't been. That guy can't be a sub 700 OPS guy. No. I understand, like Josh Bell, you probably weren't banking on that success. But then you have rookie, Drew Millis, and Jacob Young at the back of the lineup. There really is nobody to protect James Wood. The only guy that's protecting James Wood right now is Abrams by getting on base ahead of James Wood.
So they have Garcia hitting behind him right now. He's got a 719 OPS and a 99 WRC plus. Outside of Wood and Abrams, Garcia has the third best WRC plus.
That's what I realized as I was going through the box score yesterday and just looking.
I will say with their situation right now, there's no excuse for Alex Call not to be an everyday player. Alex Call has been their third best hitter this year. You have to have him in the lineup every day because he's a beating heart that can hit the baseball right now.
Do you consider putting James Wood in the leadoff spot?
Absolutely.
If this trend continues?
Absolutely. And then you got Abrams in the 2-hole. I think Call
it's not like Abrams
third.
walks. You know, like I think in Abrams in the 2-hole, I think achieves the same thing.
Yeah.
You need we see Ohtani in the leadoff spot all the time. The Dodgers have done that. I don't think there's any other way you can combat this because the lineup is so miserable. To your point,
I don't think there's a way. Brady House could catch fire and you immediately have him hit behind James Wood, but it's not looking like that's the case right now. There's nothing endearing about this lineup outside of Wood and Abrams.
It's crazy. I'm excited. I'm hoping Dalen Weil picks up off of that solid game. 22-year-old rookie, I think, is one of the more underrated rookies in the game. I think he could be a pretty solid player for them, but that's a guy that I want hitting in the 7-hole for the next 5 years. So I don't know what they do there. It is really interesting. I think that the only solution would be if this continues. I know it's the Angels being the Angels a little bit too, but if this continues, James Wood in that leadoff spot I think would help. And if I'm looking at this correctly, Wood didn't score once. So it actually worked. He didn't score a single run.
There you go.
He got on base 5 times, 4 walks and a hit. He did not score a single run. I mean, it worked because that lineup stinks. So look at the Angels being forward-thinking here.
That's Washington Nationals baseball, and that's LA Angels baseball. LA Angels baseball is Galaxy Brain. Washington Nationals baseball is, man, we can't hit right now.
What's crazy is the Angels, I keep waiting for them to just absolutely fall off a cliff, and they're playing all right. They end up losing this game anyways, but, I mean, that's the thing, too. If you didn't walk James Wood 4 times, who scored no runs, what would the outcome have been? But shout out the bottom of the order in this game. It was Lyle with 3 hits. It was Young with 2 hits. It was a double from House and Drew Millis. Go Nats.
Look at the fellas, man. All right, we're going to get to team takeaways from the weekend in a moment. Before that, quick break. The hottest team in Major League Baseball resides in Miami, Florida. The Miami Marlins have won 7 in a row. They've won 9 straight on the road. And for the first time in the history of the franchise, they had a perfect week on the road. They had never been perfect in a road trip spanning 6 or more games before, but they were here. They swept in San Francisco, they swept in Arizona, and the Miami Marlins are swinging it. And they're doing it offensively, man. They're hitting their way to this winning streak. It has been a joy to watch. I can go a whole bunch of different ways with this, but from your perspective, what's the standout with the Miami Marlins right now?
Quality at bats. When I've been tuning in, they just string them together. So with the Giants, it was even more shocking because that's a good bullpen. But with the Diamondbacks, they felt like a good baseball team in that span because it's the classic, I don't know how I feel about this Diamondbacks arm coming in here. He could blow this. But I think when the Marlins offense was sputtering at points a month or 2 ago, it didn't really matter if you had a weaker arm coming out of the bullpen. You still felt like it was an steep uphill climb to get back into the game. Now, when a bullpen arm over the last week or so that's come in that's a little bit more vulnerable, you're like, they're going to grind out some walks. They're going to string together ABs. They're going to steal that extra 90 feet. And they're going to just spray singles and big hits all over the yard. Now, I know early in games they are hitting the ball hard, but in terms of the number one thing that stood out to me is when they are behind, it's not, let's get it all back in one swing. It's let's grind out at bats. Let's frustrate these relievers and let's climb back into this thing. And to me, for the Marlins, that's the identity they have to have. You're going to hit your homers now that you have Agustin Ramirez in the fold and Kyle Stowers is going a little bit. But ultimately, the way that you're going to win ball games, I think, if you're the Marlins and get to the offensive production that you need, you got to be stringing together good at bats. They're 1 through 9. You can't have those giveaway ABs, and it feels like they just don't have that right now in the lineup.
They don't have him, and I can kind of walk 1 through 9 right now, but like Xavier Edwards, I think, is one of the more underrated leadoff guys in Major League Baseball. What this guy has done since making the pivot to second base has been underrated at this point over the grand scope of Major League Baseball. This guy as a shortstop was really struggling offensively. The batting average well below 300, and the K rate was 19%. That's not who Xavier Edwards is. This guy is a sub 10% K rate guy that's going to slap the ball around the ballpark and steal some bags. Since making the move to second base, not only is he hitting well over 300, but he's K'ing at a clip under 10%. He's back to being the Xavier Edwards from last year. They were trying the shortstop thing. It wasn't working at the beginning of the year. There was an IL stint with a back issue. He came back. He looked healthy. He's playing second base. On the other side, the other end of that flip-flop, Otto Lopez went from second base to shortstop, and Otto Lopez, we're watching the most underrated breakout season in Major League Baseball in 2025. I understand that PCA is probably the biggest breakout of 2025, but nobody was expecting Otto Lopez to be this good. This guy elevated the WRC Plus to 101 on the year over the weekend. He's got 15 RBIs over his last 7 games. That's the most in a 7-game stretch since Hanley Ramirez did it in 2009. And Otto, as a 101 WRC Plus player, is one of the better shortstops in baseball because he is an amazing, elite defender.
He
I love
definitely
watching
pushes
this guy play.
Oh, it's awesome. What I like is he's the guy that I think of like when I'm talking about the good AB, grind it out, poke a single to the right center gap late in the ball game. He's the guy that comes to my mind when I'm talking about that, where he's just never going to give one away. What's amazing is 320 WOBA, 374 xWOBA for Otto Lopez. I mean, I don't cite that too often unless it's a 40 or so point gap, because then it's like, if it's a 40 or so point gap and you've got a sample size north of 50 games, you can look at that and say that guy has a decent chance at getting even more fortunate with his batted ball outcome. So I think looking at it with Lopez, it's 54 points. Like, you can feel pretty good about the fact that he's probably been a little bit unlucky. And then I knew he'd be a good, and I know you did too, we've talked about this, knew he'd be a good shortstop. But, he was a lead at second. Sometimes that translates just into, hey, he can play a decent shortstop. He can play a slightly above average shortstop. He's playing a really good shortstop, and I think it's only going to get better and better because he's making that switch mid-season. Yeah. Right? Like, if you look at historically, he played 52 innings at shortstop in 2024, and he played 17 in 2022 with the Blue Jays, who I'll get to that in a second. He hasn't played a ton of short. So, I know he did in the minors, but it's been a little while in the bigs. So, I think that's where the glove is going to keep getting better and better and better here. And you're going to have a guy that, if he is, to your point, a 100 WRC plus guy, he's going to be he's a good chance he's going to be a 3-win shortstop.
Yes.
And the Marlins, man, I'm trying to think about the last time they had a 3-win shortstop. Maybe somebody snaked a 3+ win season. Like, I don't think Adeiny Echeverria ever snuck one in there, but it's definitely been a little while since they've had at least a consistent shortstop that you could trust, like multiple seasons with 3 wins. And so I think you got to be really encouraged with that if you're a Marlins fan and if you're the Marlins front office. And I think Otto brings a lot of good things to the table. The funny thing is, I was thinking about it the other day. I tweeted about I'll save it actually for when we wrap up the Marlins conversation. I want to talk about Andres Gimenez briefly. Okay. But the Marlins, the pitching side though, it's not like they're throwing the ball that great right now.
Yeah, they're overcoming it at the moment. Like, Sandy had a rough start in Arizona. That was, 5 innings of 6-run ball or 6 innings of 5-run ball?
6 innings, I think it was, yeah.
I think it was 6 innings, 6 runs. Yeah, I mean, the starting pitching, Yuri Perez is kind of laboring through his starts right now. Honestly, Edward Cabrera is throwing the crap out of the ball right now. Yeah. Cabby looks as good as he has ever looked over the course of his career. For me, they have a path to wins in that bullpen. And if you're not aware of what the Marlins bullpen can do, open your eyes, bub. There are some guys that are struggling right now, like Calvin Fauché is struggling over his last few outings. Anthony Bender's a freaking dog, and Ronnie Enriquez is a closer in waiting. That guy,
he's got his new closer celebration already. Now I saw after.
Dude, yeah, I don't, I don't know how that one's gonna.
Yeah,
play.
that one I was thinking about that. That one might get. Did John Morant it or something? I don't know.
It might get nixed, but Ronnie, this guy.
I thought it was cold though. Actually, I did love the Selly. I understand that you probably can't do that one. I thought that one was awesome though, especially because he throws 100.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I wonder if they'll tell me to stop it. But the most important point here, he's got a Selly. That is him saying, I am a freaking closer. You know, and I don't think he's saying it in a way like Marlins make me closer all the time. Hey, if I come in the ninth, you don't want to see me. Right. And to be honest, he's got that edge to him now where he is a big league closer and a pretty nasty one at that. So having that too, I mean, again, you're in rebuild mode as it's been perceived by most. And, you know, I know the Marlins have never outwardly called it that, but you're trying to identify the pieces that you have here. And this is a year now as you get to the middle of the season where you're like, oh, that might be our closer. Oh, that might be our shortstop. Oh, that might be one of our everyday outfielders. That might be our catcher. You haven't been able to do this in a while for the Marlins and some failed rebuilds in the past. I can't remember the last time where you could confidently say now, like, that guy's got a good chance to be, you know, our guy moving forward here at this position. You were hoping before, but they had never done enough at the big league level for you to say, no, we can pencil this guy in now.
It's, you know, it was perceived as an assessment season around the league coming into this year. But what I think you're finding right now, to your point, is jersey sellers. I think that there are people in South Florida that want a Kyle Stowers jersey, that want an Augustin Ramirez jersey.
Augustin Ramirez for sure.
Yeah, dude. Like, people want that Augustin jersey. People are going to want that Otto jersey, man, because this guy is a legit shortstop. And I want to tie it back to Otto. He's a 1.9 win player right now, just rattling off some of the guys. And I understand some of these guys have had disappointing offensive seasons. Otto Lopez among shortstops has a higher WAR than Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, Anthony Volpe, Zach Neto, Bo Bichette, Carlos Correa, Willie Adames. Like, he's been better than those guys by WAR output. And I'll tell you the 11 guys that are ahead of him in WAR right now at the shortstop position: Jeremy Pena, Bobby Witt Jr., Trey Turner, Francisco Lindor, Jacob Wilson, Ellie, C.J. Abrams, Perdomo, Mason Wynn, J.P. Crawford, and Gunnar Henderson.
Nobody's calling any of those guys flukes.
No one, man. Yeah. And I just don't think Otto's fluking right now. And I don't think Ronnie Enriquez
2.5 4 season last year too. Like,
yeah, man. He could absolutely be a 3.5 4 win player this year at the shortstop position, which is awesome. Amazing.
That's crazy. It's exciting. And now going back to the other point,
yes.
I was joking about. Not even joking. I was honestly being genuinely shocked that the Blue Jays gave up assets plus took on Andrés Giménez's contract, and we've talked about that. And people were talking about, but you know, look at how easy it is for him to get to 3 or 4 WAR, and it's like, yeah, he might actually be making me rethink second base defense and how valuable it truly is. And that's a whole different conversation. That'll be an off-season dive for me.
Yeah,
but. You know, they're like, oh, you know, he had that 6-win season in 2022, and you know, even when he had a 97 WRC plus in 2023, it was 3.8 F4, and even in 2024 when it was an 83 WRC plus, it was a 2.8 F4. Well, this year it's a 68 WRC plus and it's a 0.6 F4. This is my thing. They moved Spencer Horwitz. We've talked about that, and people are like, oh, well, Horwitz is useless, and I was like, well, even if you think that, he literally got the Guardians. Luis Ortiz, and then 2 decent prospects, Josh Hartle and Michael Kennedy. I was just looking at it from this perspective as well. If Toronto really does value these guys, and you know their analytics department says this is an undervalued archetype, how did you let Otto Lopez slip through?
Yeah,
because Otto Lopez, even if you didn't think he could play shortstop, he's kind of that. Even at the peak of Andrés Giménez, like he's that Andrés Giménez light, at least. Like he would have been able to accumulate WAR defensively and just put the ball in play and get close to league average offense and steal some bags. So team that values this type of player so much that they'll take on $100 million and trade an asset for it. let an Otto Lopez slip through their cracks and like didn't play in Ernie Clement all the time. I that's the part I just don't totally get. And I get those guys aren't putting up 6-4 seasons, but neither is Andres Gimenez for the last 3 years now. So, total aside, but I got so many Blue Jays fans teeing off on me in the replies about it.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. I didn't think anybody would defend that trade. And, and then replying every single time he had a hit. Like, what do you think now?
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't help it. I replied because it was like 5-6 days ago. He had like a nice game. I replied yesterday. He's a 53 WRC plus since that tweet. Like I'm glad Jimenez got his bag because I mean I don't know what they thought was going to happen there. And Toronto's playing good ball. Like what if they spent that money and traded? What if they had Luis Ortiz in that rotation because they just traded Horwitz for that exact trade,
right? And
then didn't spend that money on Andres Gimenez and spent it somewhere else. Team would be even better.
They would be in a better spot. I will say you have to – it is an indictment on Toronto for moving an Otto Lopez when they take on a $100 million version of Otto Lopez, but probably a worse hitter at this point. The other team that you got to look at and shake your head, the team that DFA'd him after claiming him from Toronto was the San Francisco Giants. And I understand they paid Adames, and Adames will tick up, but they're running into a serious second base problem right now.
Yep.
Tyler Fitzgerald is in AAA at the moment. Christian Koss is playing every day because Schmidt's at third with Chapman on the IL. And when Chapman comes back, it's going to be some assortment of Casey Schmidt and others at second base. They would love to have Otto Lopez at second base right now.
Yep.
But they DFA'd him in spring training.
That's why I love the sport.
Shout out Peter Bendix for sweeping in.
Yeah, that's why I love the sport. You just never know. I see guys in the minor leagues too, especially that's why I love in the minor leagues. Guys that get, released from AA and then sign a minor league deal with another team and are torching in AAA. And it's just that's the fun part about baseball is you can make a change, you can find something, and you can go from career on life support to a really good piece at the highest level.
Yep. A couple other teams here. One last positive trender, the Milwaukee Brewers. In the month of June, top 5 in both team ERA and OPS. They've won 8 of 10. And all of a sudden, they're only 2 games back of the Chicago Cubs in the National League Central. Remember when we were eulogizing the Milwaukee Brewers a week and a half into this season because it was bombs away with the torpedo bats with the Yankees in New York?
Don't put me on that.
Remember when Peter was eulogizing the Milwaukee Brewers because it was bombs away with the torpedo bats in New York?
Yeah. Was it just Peter? You've kind of been anti-Brewers.
I was anti-Brewers last year, and I don't think it's a bit thing. I think I immediately became vehemently pro-Brewers when they traded for Quinn Priester because I'm always going to root for that guy.
Yeah.
And Priester's a huge part of that rotational.
Well, now that they've got Miz and like the fact that like a guy that you and I just enjoyed in a Chad Patrick like in AAA, just like, oh, that guy's going to go get innings in AAA, is getting innings in the show now too and being solid for them. It's very easy to root for this team. And then they just called up Anthony Seigler.
Yeah.
Who I've been talking about on the fucking podcast. I'm glad you brought them up. I would have forgot about it. Anthony Seigler got the call, baby. I'm so happy for that guy. Could you imagine the weight of being a Yankees quote unquote bust first round pick and what comes with that? And then
every Yankee first round pick ever is a bust. Volpe's a bust at this point. 23-year-old shortstop's a total bust.
Yeah, he stinks. But like, it's got to be so awesome. And I've heard nothing but great things about who he is as a person, how he carries himself. And like, I mean, to get this opportunity with the Brewers, who we know are very forward thinking and very helpful with hitting development, they help get this guy right. And he's not even a catcher really anymore. He's catching like every once in a while, but he's playing the infield. He could be a nice little jolt for them. And I'm really excited to see what he does, but just cool to add him to the fold too. There's with Caleb Durbin there also. And then I'm always going to root for Yelich. Of course, that was one of my favorite Marlins of all time.
Right.
Sal is an awesome, like they've got good dudes on this team as well.
100%.
And maybe just coincidentally, you and I have come across a lot of them over the years, but I think there's just a high likability like component to this team.
And I will say their manager is a huge piece of that. I love Pat Murphy. Everything that I read of Pat Murphy, every post-game interview that I watch, every pre-game soundbite that I see on X, I love the way Pat Murphy goes about managing a Major League Baseball team. This guy, everybody knew it last year. they held serve when Counsell left. I'll go as far as to say they upgraded when Counsell left. I think Pat Murphy is legit, man. It seems like, and college basketball people may get this, Gonzaga took a step back when Tommy Lloyd took the Arizona job, and you began to question how much of the Gonzaga success was actually Tommy Lloyd. And when he left for Arizona, he took Balo with him. He took like his recruiting prowess with him. For me, I'm watching Counsell go and the Cubs go through ebbs and flows, and obviously the Cubs are awesome this year, but I think they have way more firepower than the Milwaukee Brewers roster does. I watched the Brewers grit their way to the postseason in 2024, and I'm watching them make their way back again after a slow start to begin this year, and I'm saying, how much of that it factor with Milwaukee was actually Pat Murphy and not Craig Counsell? That's how I find myself interpreting Pat Murphy.
That's interesting, and I think a lot of it is also just the front office as well, and in the way that they're able to piece this thing together, where it's like this team is always going to be in a good spot where you have pieces that can be placed together to complete this puzzle, but you need the right person in charge to help make that happen. And clearly Murphy is very capable of that as well. And I know that Counsell is one of the best managers in the game. He also got paid to be that, right? He got the John Gruden deal essentially. Yeah. But it's really fascinating on that side of it as well. But also the last thing I'll say on them is like, you could look at that offense and say there's more coming, right? Like, yeah, you could say Joey Ortiz can't be a 570 OPS guy for the entire season. If he is, you're going to roll somebody else out there at some point, or move some things around where Terang goes over to short and you figure something out. Jackson Chourio just is not going to be a 100 WRC plus guy all year. There's no way. Yelich is heating up big time now, and I think that's part of the reason why they're hot. But you got to be very, very fired up about that side of things. Caleb Durbin's coming alive now as well, and that's been exciting. And then you hope that you get a couple guys off the IL. But when I look at this pitching staff now, all of a sudden, it's just damn good. I think with Peralta at the top pitching as well as he has, Mizorowski, Quintana is just that steady equalizer, and then Priester and Chad Patrick to go to that bullpen, that's more than enough. And then if you get Cortez back, if you get Gasser back before the end of the year, it's just even more. But also, you got Logan Henderson still kicking in AAA.
Right.
You got Tobias Myers trying to get right as well. They're in a really, really solid spot. And I just hope they buy. You know that the Cubs are going to buy.
Right.
The Reds are hot. I hope they freaking buy. And I hope the Brewers buy. Like, have some urgency. Don't just sit in this 55% of games we're going to win over 10 years. And don't do that shit.
Yeah. The one that makes me sad, Garrett Mitchell undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery tomorrow. Like, Mitchell would add a lovely wrinkle to this dynamic offensively, and we're just not going to get that. Mitchell, unfortunately, has proven to be very injury-prone over the course of his career. When he's on the field, he's really good, man. That one sucks for me, but everything else that they have going is very exciting.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to wrap real quick with a couple of the disappointments from this weekend. Arizona has lost 4 in a row, of course, sweep at the hands of the Fightin' Fish in Arizona. This team, man, you look at June, it's one of the best offenses in baseball. You look at the season, they have the second best team OPS in Major League Baseball, only behind the LA Dodgers. It's a rinse and repeat from last year. They have arguably the best offense in the game. Even without Corbin Carroll, they're deep. Pavin Smith is awesome. Ketel Marte, if he didn't miss time, would be playing like an MVP frontrunner. And then you've got other guys that are really swinging it. Naylor was swinging it before this shoulder thing. They've got guys. Eugenio Suarez has been nails, obviously 25 bombs for him. This pitching rotation and this bullpen not only is decimated by injuries, obviously no Burns, no Martinez, no Puck, no Jordan Montgomery, but at the end of the day, the warm bodies have to pitch, and they're running into a shit run. Gallen's been bad. Fott's been bad. And then I'm watching guys in this bullpen just blow it. Like Jalen Beeks blew a game on Sunday. Blew it. He walked.
Didn't he blow another one on Saturday?
He blew back-to-back games. Yeah, Jalen Beeks blew back-to-back games. this bullpen, man, like this staff as a whole is really hard to watch, and I'm so thankful for it this weekend because the Fish ran into him at I guess a good time.
It's so how much of it, because I look at it from this perspective. You know how excited I was about this team going into the year, but the offense, it was like you said, it was basically this last year. So you go get Corbin Burns, and you had Justin Martinez and AJ Puck ready to go. I think you could look at the rotation and say that was probably enough. Yeah. Adding Corbin Burns to that group, and you figured the group would pitch a little bit better. I don't fault them at all, rotation-wise. Bullpen-wise, I didn't love it going into this year compared to, I think, some of the other teams in the division. And yes, if you have Justin Martinez and AJ Puck, you're feeling a lot better. You probably shouldn't have went into the season counting on a full healthy year of AJ Puck. Yeah. It's just never really happened. And then Martinez, you couldn't have predicted. Justin Martinez alone is not saving this bullpen. My thing with this pen is that after Shelby Miller, it's like, all right, who's thrown the ball pretty decent over the last couple of days? You go pitch at leverage today. Let's see what happens.
You know what the answer is? After Shelby Miller, it's Kyle Backus. You ever heard of him? No chance. No. He's thrown 6 1/3 innings in his major league career, and he's good. He's a funky sidearm lefty, but that's it outside of Shelby Miller now.
That's the biggest issue, in my opinion. And that's because if the rotation is already a little bit down, and it has been a lot of it, like the bullpen can't also be in that situation. I think they underestimated how top heavy that bullpen was. But that said, I do think it's mostly just extremely unfortunate circumstances for them, which really does suck. You have Corbin Burns in that rotation at least every 5th day. You've got a shot to win. You pair that with Merrill Kelly. Okay, 2 out of 5 days, you're getting something good. Ryan Nelson is not nearly the blow up that you're getting from Erod and Fott and Gallen right now. So, okay, 3 out of 5 days, we got a decent shot with one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball. And then the other 2 days, for the most part, like, your offense can always get yourself back into a game. So
but you're also
that's what's really unfortunate. And I think it's also underrated to not have Gabby Moreno working behind the dish.
For sure.
And that can affect the staff too. So it sucks, but I do think they underestimated how much more help they needed in the bullpen.
Sure. I also think they probably, I don't even want to say overestimated the work that Gallen and Fott could do, because they extended Fott, and you liked the deal at the time. And I'm not victory lapping right now. I'm just saying he was a 5 ERA guy at the moment, or at the time of signing, and guess what he is right now? He's a 5.2 ERA guy. Mm-hmm. Eduardo Rodriguez is one of the more frustrating watches in Major League Baseball. Like, this guy threw 106 pitches in 5 innings yesterday. It was mind numbing to watch. And then Gallen, I'm out of words.
It's just shocking.
It's shocking. I loved watching Zach Gallen. I thought he was a top 10 pitcher in Major League Baseball coming into this year, even with the blip last year. And this has been a disaster to watch. So I don't know. Last thing on Arizona, if you're Mike Hazen, how do you attack this deadline? I assume you move a rental in Suarez and you move a rental in Gallen.
You give this team 3 weeks to get right.
Sure.
And not even get right. I think you give this team 3 weeks to just play above average baseball.
They're 500. Like, they've lost 4 in a row to drop themselves to a game under 500.
I think you listen no matter what. And if somebody, knocks on your door and floors you with an offer, if you're able to get maybe a guy that could help your rotation as soon as next year, for a Gino Suarez or something, yeah, I mean, you got to, or a Naylor, you seriously consider that. But at the end of the day, they're rental corner guys, and I don't think that teams are going to go crazy for that. So there is somewhat of a value to just riding it out as well. Like, I think it has to be a point where you're getting a return that really you feel like helps your team situation. If not next year, it really helps the farm system as well. So I think it would have to be somewhat of an overpay. You have some leverage there in that regard. If the wheels fall off, then absolutely, even more so, you shop around with a little bit more intent. But I think you have to be listening on those expiring guys. But I don't think you have to necessarily move them. And I think that's a good position to be in, ultimately. Like, wow me. And if you don't, I'm going to hope that this team does what they did the last 2 years and gets scorching hot over the last couple months of the season. So I'm looking at Dre Jameson, and I can't believe I have him circled, but I'm like, that's a guy that maybe can really help this bullpen or rotation or whatever.
Sure.
That's just a capable arm and a warm body that's better than what they've got there. So he's already on the mend, and I'm hoping that they can slowly add some guys back. Andrew Salfrank's off of his gambling suspension.
Nice.
Maybe he can
That's
get
fun.
back and help them at some point. But no, I think you got to be ready to listen on all those rentals. But if they're playing slightly above average ball over the next month, I consider riding it out.
Two more teams real quick. The New York Mets outscored in Pittsburgh this weekend 30-4 by the Pittsburgh Pirates. That was crazy. 9-1 the loss on Friday, 9-2 the loss on Saturday, 12-1 the loss on Sunday. That was a white flag weekend. I'm not panicking if I'm the New York Mets because Juan Soto is on freaking fire right now, but everybody sucked this weekend. And this was like the one weekend I've ever empathized with Frank Fleming, I think, Frank the Tank. So shout out, Frank. Hope your glasses are okay. And back at it on Monday.
I wonder how bad it would where's the line where it nets a Steve Cohen tweet? Because they got a Steve Cohen tweet after this one.
Yeah.
Quote, tough stretch, no sugarcoating it. Also, spaces between the periods and spaces between the punctuation can't happen. I don't like that. Tough stretch, no sugarcoating it. I didn't see this coming. I'm as frustrated as everybody else. We will get through this period. Our injured pitching will come back over the next few weeks. It is unlikely the team's hitting with runners in scoring position will continue at this weak pace. Keep the faith. I like that though. I honestly will say I think it's refreshing to have an owner that cares and actually like talks about stuff that's going on, not just give you bullshit speak.
Sure.
If they were outscored 30-12 to Steve Cohen tweet,
Probably
I think it was
not.
the worst series in franchise history, right?
Probably. To the Pirates, too, given the circumstances. Like, the Pirates are terrible. Pirates' offense is horrible, and they hung
that's a big
30
part
on
of it,
them
too.
across 3 games.
Yeah. The fact that they're that bad and they just manhandled them like that.
Yeah.
I just think it's just a bad little
Yes,
stretch.
no, terrible
Does it
weekend.
alter your perception of the Mets much at all?
No, not the slightest. It's just a shitty weekend.
Yeah.
So that's
They
all
need
I
those
say.
pitching reinforcements to get in there now. So we were talking about the pitching staff potentially regressing. I don't think it's going to necessarily regress significantly, although David Peterson right after that had a miserable start. Blackburn's at a point where like you probably can't roll that guy out there anymore. At least for now, like maybe he can just be a bulk guy. They need those reinforcements to get there sooner rather than later, and I think they are. So, I mean that's I think all you're looking at, and also Francisco Alvarez is torching the ball immediately in AAA. So I think it's gonna be good for him to get right and get back up there and help them.
Yeah. Last team that we got to talk about real quick, the Cleveland Guardians. Guardians can't hit right now, man. Their June numbers, as it stands at the moment, really, really bad. They're last in Major League Baseball in runs scored. They're hitting 210 as a team. That's the lowest in baseball. Every single part of the slash line, they are 30th in Major League Baseball this month. They're slashing 210, 275, 338. That is a 614 OPS. They've been shut out 6 times this month. This weekend, they scored in 1 inning. 1 inning. They were swept by St. Louis, and they scored in like the 5th inning on Saturday, and that was it. This has been a tough watch for Cleveland. I don't have much beyond that, but it seems like it's rinse and repeat every year. They need more ammo offensively. And guess what? Their lack of ammo is really catching up to them.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's going to be interesting to see how they approach things. You know who is swinging it really well?
Who?
Chase DeLauder.
Sure.
And I think you got to be looking at this point and saying we need a spark, right? Like we need a guy that can get up here and not only offer some power, but just good at bats. DeLauder, I think he's a perfect candidate. I hate banking on minor leaguers to come up and jolt you, but we've talked about it. There's certain candidates that can do that. I think a DeLauder is a candidate, especially in a team like that needs more thump, definitely. But also that's going to give you good at-bats, even if he's not getting into that power right away, right? Like he's running a sub 15% chase rate in AAA. He's making plus contact. Like it's plus contact rates. And he's hitting the ball hard. So even if he's not slugging right away, I think it's a guy that you feel pretty good about giving you some good at-bats and just being able to add a layer to this lineup. So It's funny though because I look at the lineup and it doesn't look like it should be that bad. It doesn't feel like it should be that. And a big part of that is Lane Thomas and his struggles. And I think Nolan Jones getting regular at bats. I might have to apologize to the Rockies. They may have made a good trade there.
Based.
Tyler Freeman may be the better option there.
Yeah.
But like, man, between when you have Bo Naylor, and I know it's a catching position, but when you have Bo Naylor being this bad offensively, and then your backup is Austin Hedges, the amount of offensive production you're getting from that position is just not good.
Peter, so let me just say real quick, Peter was giving me shit for not hating on Bo Naylor, but for saying that he might just be a bad hitting catcher at the beginning of this year. And Peter was like, "No, dude, like we're not far removed from him being okay." I'm like, dude, he has been pretty uncompetitive offensively over the majority.
I would
of
have
his
pushed
career.
back a little bit on that point too, thinking that he's going to get going here and build on it, but
Nothing's happened.
no, not at all. He might just be a bad hitting catcher, and that's not great.
It's not
For
great, but
them.
he's only 25 years old. Here's to hoping that it gets a little better.
Yeah, but man, what's the latest on Bieber before we wrap up?
I think he's ramping up right now. I thought I read after the All-Star break.
Throw live BP this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
So
I know that he can't hit, but it'll help a little bit.
a little
just having
bit.
another good arm in the fold, and they're throwing the ball pretty well overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need a jolt, and again another team that I hope is aggressive because there's still enough reason to be, but I doubt it. If they're not at 500, they're not going to be aggressive.
No chance. All right, that's what we got today. Great conversation coming tomorrow with the Marlins director of pitching, Bill Hiesel. We're going to talk about pitching philosophy on the Just Baseball show. Every link you need is in the episode description, and we will talk to you then.